Hi, my name's Mr. Deering. I'm one of the senior chemistry teachers here at Rose Bay Secondary College, along with Mr. Clark. What I'm going to take you through is a little bit about what Year 11 chemistry has been doing, where we're up to, and what we have to do right up until the end of term 3, at which point they'll start their HSC year in term 4. Right, so I'll get my image a little bit smaller out of the way. What we're looking at here is the Year 11 scope and sequence. So we've obviously gone through term 1, which is where we looked at an introductory topic on the properties and structure of matter. And then we went into looking at quantitative aspects of chemistry. This was, of course, when we had all of the remote learning and the interference that COVID-19 caused, but we were able to continue our learning looking at quantitative chemistry through online lessons through Microsoft Teams. And we've found ourselves now back here at the end of term 2, and we're well and truly into reactive chemistry, and we're into this depth study here, which is an assessment task we'll talk more about in a second. So after the mid-year break, what we're going to do is come back and finish off approximately 2 weeks left of reactive chemistry, and then we'll start the fourth and final module for Year 11 chemistry, which is drivers of chemical reactions. And then that'll go into the yearly exam period before starting term 4, which is all Year 12 or HSC chemistry course. And it flows on to module 5 through to 8 this time next year. So with regard to assessments, I'll keep the scope and sequence here because what it did indicate is a practical test should have occurred, and that was set to go earlier on in the term, but of course, being at home and remote learning, that was unable to take place. So when students did return back around week 5, we were able to do an online examination, and this was the only test that was actually used to assess outcomes. And when the half-yearly reports make it home, the 6 outcomes that will be present will be these ones highlighted in bold right here. And that online examination is what was used to determine the A through to E grading for all of these 6 outcomes. And it was specifically assessing properties of structure and matter and introduction to quantitative chemistry. Now that we are definitely well and truly back into doing our at-school lessons, the students are currently looking at this depth study. So what I'll do is I'll bring up this because it is the major assessment task in Year 11. There are only 3, so the third and final one is the yearly exam. So this one does have the majority weighting at 40%, and it is going to be due in week 3 on Monday, 9 a.m. So the students, what they are required to do is create a scientific video, a tutorial video targeted at a senior student to teach them about electrochemistry and looking at things called galvanic cells and researching battery technologies. So the students do get ample class time. In fact, they get approximately 15 hours worth of in-class time, which we're about halfway through. They still have the final week of term 2 to use for in-class depth study time, which involves doing practical components of the video, which they have to be able to demonstrate. There are theoretical components as well, including modeling, and then a research component as well. And all of that, as I said, will get submitted as one video submission in term 3, week 3. Okay, so that covers assessment tasks. So like I said, there are 3, and we'll talk about preparing for the yearly exam at the end of this little talk. But the next thing that I will demonstrate is what the students have actually been provided with, and that's resources such as this one. This is the Module 3 PowerPoint program or resource booklet that we actually print off and provide students. And what it does is, in these sections here that are bolded in black and white writing, it's straight from the syllabus, which I'll get to in a second, and it outlines all of the content in a summarized format that they need to know, and it incorporates question sets that we expect the students to be able to do, and it also looks at laboratory activities that they have to complete as well. So that's all integrated, and they get one for each of the 4 modules that they have to complete in Year 11, and that same style continues into Year 12 chemistry as well. So in addition, what I'll demonstrate is this. During remote learning, we were able to move pretty rapidly into the remote teaching space using remote teaching and learning space using Microsoft Teams. So this is what the Year 11 chemistry team looks like. Specifically, this what we were able to create while we were remote is a whole bunch of tutorial videos that were actually made by myself to teach the students about important concepts, and they all still remain online and are a fantastic resource for the students to look at and use for their revision and preparation for their final examination. In addition, under the Files tab, we still actually have every single one of the remote learning lessons still available, outlining a logical sequence for what the students had to complete. So that's all accessible, and we're also going to make available in the very near future a number of practice assessment tasks for the students to use. So that covers the learning material. I guess the final thing that I wanted to cover in this quick video was just one of the most effective ways that students can actually study. So obviously they've got their module book, they've got the access to Teams, they've got access to myself. So questioning is probably one of the critical things why we're learning the content. That has to be, remember, the students have to know that they can ask questions, and they should ask questions and be encouraged to ask, because chemistry being such a technical subject, it does require sometimes that guidance or that further explanation to help them understand something. But on top of that, it really, really is an important skill to be as prepared for the HSC year and start learning how to use the chemistry syllabus, which is easily accessible through the NESA, Education Standards Authority New South Wales website. And they just have to go to year 11, 12, look for science. And of course, when you go to science, they'll be able to scroll down and find chemistry, very similar to if they're doing another science subject. And in that, what they really need to be able to focus on is finding the course content and the outcomes, and being aware about what could be assessed, because it literally is like a summary or a scaffolded summary that outlines every single little bit of the course that they need to know. So nothing that is outside of this syllabus will be assessed. So as long as they know the structure of the syllabus and they know the context and the depth of knowledge that is required, it's absolutely the best way that they can start to prepare for their yearly examination. So assessment booklet, syllabus, asking for help, those are probably absolutely the three most effective methods. And of course, applying their knowledge as often as they can using the question sets in those module booklets. So of course, if there's any other questions that you feel you need to know about what's going on in the chemistry course, or if there's any concerns, please feel free to contact me via my work email, and I'll be more than happy to have a conversation about what's happening in chemistry. Thank you very much.